Hello, Oracles. How's it going? My goodness, it feels like forever since we've done a live stream, since it's been a week. So yeah, been a crazy busy schedule for me. So I apologize for not being on regularly. But I will definitely be on as much as I can be. Just crazy schedule, stuff going on with my son, all sorts of stuff, work getting crazy busy. Um, but what I'm going to try to do looks like 6:45 is the time I'm able to get on now with my new schedule going on. So I'm going to try to get on around 6:30 to 6:45 if I can, Tuesdays and Fridays. And as I said, this Friday I will not be on as I will be traveling up to New Hampshire. But yeah, so looking at the stock today, so down a little bit, we ran up nice to start the day, and then we just sort of hit a wall and bounced down. The entire market ended up doing that, so not a huge concern. Nothing Tesla specific that came out showing that. But we hit this level of resistance. Hey, what's going on there? So yeah, so we hit this level of resistance. Strat, and what's going on, my friend? Let me pop up on the charts. I'll give it a few minutes. I'll give people minutes to get on because I know I didn't post this earlier because I wasn't sure what time I was going to be able to get on for you guys. So I'll try to give you guys a heads up like I was in the past for when I'm going to be doing the live streams for timing wise, so you guys can be ready for it. Hey Randall, what's going on? So yeah, so looking, I'll pop it up here now. Big Will, what's going on, my friend? Let's see. Here we go. All right. So yeah, so I had the resistance level at about 191. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. So I go off of, where have we bounced a lot? And, we've had some significant bounces around that 191 mark, but some people can argue it was closer to 195. So between 190 and 195 was a pretty good area that we were going to bounce. That's exactly what we did. Ran up, hit that number, and bounced. When we bounced based on the RSI, we bounced around 66, still not overbought. So we may still have a little room to run. So this may have been a little cool off, and then we may go back up again. But again, looking at the RSI, look at where we're going, looking with the volume that we've got, really don't think we're going to push that much further past 200 unless something comes in that really helps us break through that. But even then, we would still be way overbought at that level. So, looking at what we could potentially be seeing coming up, looking at things like, the macro environment is really what's driving most of this right now is the macro. As we can see this week, like we're running on no news, we're falling on no news. So it's a lot of it's macro and manipulation driven. So the big things coming up for the macro, obviously the debt ceiling talks. I cannot see us defaulting at all. We've never done it before. Literally every single time we get to this situation, we have these debates, we have this tension. They come up with a plan, they come up with a solution, they raise the debt ceiling, and we go on from there. So I cannot see us not doing that, but the stress and uncertainty leading up to it is what the market doesn't like. So we saw a little bit of that today with the entire market pulling back after it ran a little bit. Other things are there's discussions that the Fed might do more interest rate hikes versus just pausing. So if we end up getting more interest rate hikes, that is definitely going to cause the market to pull back. So, we're kind of running up. I don't know. We've obviously seen a very nice run market wide for the first half of the year up until this point. So, getting a pullback may make sense. How much it's going to be, I don't know. So we'll just have to pay attention to that. And yeah, Randall, Tesla stock is going to the moon, in my opinion. However, I think it's going to take a little while before we get there. I think it's going to be about 2025. If you guys follow Peggy, he had a great video breaking down 2025 and why 2025 is going to be a key year for Tesla. And I've broken it down on here many a times as well. Just so much going on for 2025 in everything kind of culminating all at the same time. The macro environment, kind of settling down and, timing wise, looking like that's when the next big bull run is going to actually be starting. Tesla having compact car coming out, having Mexico up and running, having 4680s up and running, having FSD most likely being solved, maybe even getting regulated here in the US, probably getting regulated over in China. You're going to have another factory we're most likely going to hear about by the end of this year. You're going to have energy coming out of both Lathrop and Shanghai. So much stuff coming for Tesla. The Cybertruck. I mean, there's so many things. I keep forgetting all of them that are coming out. All of these things that we have going on for Tesla, all culminating at the same time, right around the macro environment, doing well and getting healthy again. And then don't forget, Tesla is now investment grade rating. So there's a lot more institutions that will get into it. And their investment grade rating will go up. And as it goes up, they will get even more institutional buyers coming in. Then, then we could talk about buybacks, which I have no doubt Tesla's going to do them, just not sure when. I have a feeling it's going to be within the next 12 months because they're going to, I don't want to say nobody can time the bottom, but they're going to reach a point for themselves where they see in the future, all right, we kind of see the skies clearing. That's when they're going to say, now seems like it's going to be a good time to do a buyback. They'll do that buyback as the skies are clearing before the stock really starts to take off again, and they'll be able to do an even more potent buyback at that time. So a lot is going to happen in the next 2 years. But before we get to that point, as Elon said, it might get ugly before it gets better. And if it gets ugly, as far as I'm concerned, that's a great buying opportunity. So what I have been doing recently, and I had mentioned it previously, was I'm going through a lot of my portfolio, similar to what I did last year. Anything that seemed to be popping a little bit and I could make some profits on, I sold that out, held it as cash, put a little bit into Tesla, but I was really holding it as cash. And I'm going to be doing the same thing this time around as well. So this time around, I am going to be just adding more cash. So I sold today 5 shares of my Palantir. So I had 25, sold off 5. It's been running. I mean, it's extremely overbought right now with an RSI of 83 last I checked. It's probably down a little bit because it dipped a little bit at the end of the day. But yeah, Palantir, I sold a little bit. I didn't sell all of it. I like Palantir. I like all of the stocks that I own long term. But if I can take some profits before they make a crash, if I'm anticipating this crash happening in the next 12 months, I can take some profits off of those, put the cash on the side, and look at that. So I'm really, really focusing now on cash flow generation coming from my investments. That's coming right now from CDs. That's coming from ETFs and the dividends from those ETFs. So what's going on, Moose? So for me, that's really where my big focus is right now, is really just looking at any cash flow generation I can make from my investments. That to me is the key. So I'm really looking at my expenses. Anybody who's a Patreon, and I apologize to all my patrons, I updated my spreadsheets, totally forgot to put them over there. So I will be posting those hopefully later today or tomorrow. But every single week, I update all of my expenses. I update my investments. I will be getting that investment spreadsheet out to everyone over there so that you guys can see what I am investing in and how my money is broken down. I also have my millionaire status, breaking down where all of my money is stored in different places, whether it's in savings, whether it's in a 401k, in my stock portfolio, just to show that I'm growing my net worth over time, despite everything going up and down. Sith Lord, what's going on? Have you noticed Tesla sentiment has shifted in the media? Yeah. And I don't know if it has shifted because of the fact that, Elon and Tesla have decided to advertise. I don't know, but I've noticed it happen in the past. We've seen it before even the advertisement talk had ever come up. Typically, when you saw the swings going on with the media when it came to the sentiment, it was because they were trying to drive the stock price in one direction or the other. So if you see mainstream media kind of all of a sudden having more positive news about Tesla, why would they have that? Well, the stock price is going up. So somebody somewhere who owns a lot of shares and has big money trying to manipulate the stock is trying to drive the stock price up. They're driving it up, and then they decide, all right, we've made enough money. We've driven it high enough. Now we're going to go with the sentiment that's negative, and we're going to throw some FUD out into the news and drop the stock as well. So, I've seen it go both directions before and after, but I've definitely seen some of it coming out. And of course, I've seen a lot more stuff about ICE vehicles coming out. Big stuff to pay attention to. So when you're looking at investing and you're looking at things like, hey, how many Teslas am I seeing on the road right now? And you see all the Teslas and you're like, there's more and more that I'm seeing. That's a physical, tangible thing that you can see when it comes to your investment. There are more Teslas on the road. That company is doing well because there's more on the road. I also like to look at things in the media. Sometimes it's a lot of foreshadowing going on. Think about how the government and the media work. They kind of laid down a lot of the groundwork ahead of time to kind of set the stage for bigger things to happen in the future. A lot of things I've been seeing in the news, and you guys can let me know in your areas, but in our local news, it's the local Fox channel that we've been watching at work. I see a lot of stuff about accidents, distracted drivers, things like that, and then them discussing how fully autonomous vehicles are going to save lives. They're just kind of planting the seeds right now for this to become a reality in the future. To me, that is what I'm looking at saying, all right, we know that the government is already looking at potentially regulating these things down the road. Whoever is controlling all of this and wants it to happen is setting the stage for it to happen to convince the American population that they're going to want this. So they're planting the seed saying, ooh, human drivers bad. Ooh, fully autonomous driving good. And they're just kind of setting the stage for that, getting that educational piece out there to people. So when we get to the point where, hey, whether it's Tesla or whoever they're doing it for, is ready to have fully autonomous vehicles on the road, the public is going to be like, yeah, we've been talking about it for years now. Of course we want this. It's going to be so much safer. It's going to be so much better. And they're going to get the support of the public to come out there and do it. So that's that's exactly how I feel like it's going to be going down. So those are the little kind of things that I pay attention to. So I don't watch mainstream media. I don't have TV. I don't have cable. Haven't had it for 15 years, but we have it at work. So when I see it at work, we also have NECN, the New England station. So both of those have been playing similar things. And ironically, the Fox News station is more on the right side. The NECN station is more on the left side, but they both talk about the same thing. So those are the things to really pay attention to when you're, just seeing stuff that's going on in the media. Take that step back, look at it from an outside perspective and say, all right, what am I observing? And what similarities am I observing from all different things? What information is getting put out to the public through these media platforms? And why is it getting put out there? So when I ask myself those questions, it all to me comes right down to they're setting the stage to be able to regulate autonomy within the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it's going to be. They're setting the stage for it so that when they do have that vote coming up, they're going to want to vote yes for it. And they're going to have the media coming or the public coming out, not protesting it as much because the public is going to be for this. That's just my take on it. And you guys can share what you think, but I think that's what it's going to be. Melissa, how's it going? I knew you'd finally make it on here, and I apologize. Most of it was not your fault, Melissa. Most of it was me not getting on here regularly. So you did your due diligence. I did not do mine. So we'll get it back together now. Do you think FSD can be perfected? There's so much happening on the road when driving. When it comes to FSD and perfection, we'll call it, it's not going to happen. It's the March of Nines, but it's going to come down to, is it better than a human driver? And seeing as, Tesla has the safety score in their vehicles for human drivers, they can clearly do that for when the vehicle is fully autonomous as well. So when you're driving with FSD, they could run a safety score off of that if they wanted to really say, all right, well, now FSD is running safer than anybody who has a safety score of 75 or below. And once they start marching that up higher and higher, they can really say, hey, we've been tracking the safety score for FSD versus human drivers, and now FSD is now safer than the majority of human drivers. The biggest challenge is going to be FSD versus other human drivers. So, obviously it's going to be unpredictable. FSD can only do so much. In an ideal world, if we were in an ideal world where every single vehicle on the road was fully autonomous, wouldn't be a question, wouldn't be a problem. But the transition to go from where we are now with human drivers over to fully autonomous vehicles, it's going to be a painful one, without a doubt. It's going to be very painful, Could take decades for that to actually happen. If it ever happens to get every single vehicle on the road to be fully autonomous, who knows? When it comes to government regulation, think about the fact that they're regulating and saying, state by state now that, you can't produce ICE vehicles after 2035. We may get to a point when it comes to autonomous vehicles that you can't produce a vehicle unless it has full autonomy in it. And maybe, as a human driver, you have to have a special license to actually drive your car versus, going out there. I'm not one to come out and say that we should completely shut off anybody from driving as a human. I don't think that's the right way to go. But educating people to say fully autonomous vehicles are much safer, we should go that route. That makes sense to me. So I have a feeling that's going to happen, but it's going to be a rough road along the way. FSC is cool. Did you guys see Farzad and Alexandra give a driving together? No, no. I'm assuming it was when Alexandra was in. I'm assuming it's when she was down in Austin for the annual shareholder meeting. I missed that. I got to get Alexandra back on here, man. The fact that she was able to ask Elon a question, that was so awesome. Oh man, I was so happy for her. What's going on, Hanif? Yes, you're late. I'm late. Everybody's late today. Yay! But we all made it here. Better late than never. So this is good. Oh man, yeah, I got to get down there. So and obviously when they're going to do the Cybertruck, I've got a couple of weeks of vacation left to use. So hopefully they give us enough time for the Cybertruck delivery event for me to actually plan that out because I would like to get down there. So I've got a couple of big plans set up. Anybody to go on a little tangent here, a little side note. Speaking of the stuff behind me, those mountains, that's one of the mountains I'm going to be climbing this weekend. And so in New Hampshire, they have 4,000 footers. There's the 48 4,000 footers that people put on their list to try and tackle all of them. So I'm going to shoot for that. So a lot of the times that I have vacation for this year, I'm shooting to get those accomplished. So I've got 10 of them done so far. So I got a long road ahead of me, but that Cybertruck event, that Cybertruck event is what I'm really looking for. So I definitely want to get down there for that. And I mean, hell, if I can go down there and they can hand me my Cybertruck, that would be great. But I'm like 1.5 million in line. So I don't think I'll be getting mine until like 2026. Moose, governments won't need to regulate. I suspect the insurance companies will make it too cost effective to not have it manual driving grill cost mega bucks. Actually, that's not a bad thought. That might end up happening as well. They crank up the prices and say, hey, if you're going to drive the vehicle yourself, you're going to be paying $500 a month for your insurance versus fully autonomous vehicles because insurance companies are going to need to make money as well. So that's, Moose, that just kind of came into my head. Fully autonomous vehicles are going to completely disrupt the automotive insurance industry. Because why would you need automotive insurance on a fully autonomous vehicle that's most likely never going to get into an accident? Huh. That is massive. Interesting. I'm going to bounce it off. I'm actually reaching out to Dr. Know-It-All as well to have him come on. And I want to discuss FSD with him. So in discussing FSD with him, I'll bring that up and throw that at him as a question of, what do you think is going to happen with automotive insurance down the road when vehicles are all fully autonomous and you have no need for insurance? Looking at Tesla insurance themselves, they've said it to us many a time. They're not looking to have, their insurance bring in a significant amount of revenue. They're doing it more for customer satisfaction standpoint to make the whole experience of owning a Tesla better because there's going to be a faster feedback loop. They're going to be able to make the vehicles better. They're going to be able to get your vehicle back to you sooner. Wow. Thanks, Moose. I love when people jar my brain like that. That's awesome. Sal, can the 146 gap get officially filled from a stock split, lowering the price to that range? No. If the stock splits just like when it split previously, all the gaps split as well evenly. So it doesn't fill that way. Because if you had a 146 gap, let's say you did a 2-to-1 split, then your gap would go down to $73. Oh, see, I follow Warren a bit, but I don't follow a lot of his stuff, and I've been so busy I haven't been able to follow a lot of stuff very closely. So Maybe I'll get Warren on here. I know there's a lot of people. Oh man, Warren is one of those guys who rubs a lot of people the wrong way and doesn't give a crap about it. But I don't mind that. I'm not one of the ones who's out here saying I'll block or ban anyone for things. Some people I just don't see eye to eye with entirely, but I have no problems having people on. So maybe I'll have Warren on here and I'll talk about that with him too. Yeah, honey, if I would love to start up my own insurance company, except hearing from Elon about how insurance is such a nightmare because it goes state by state. No, thank you. I want nothing to do with that. Ian, what's going on? Evening Tim made a tidy profit last few days on Tesla before being stopped out today. Tesla 72% up year to date. Yeah, it's insane. Currently beating Bitcoin 64% gain. Wishing everyone in the US well from across the pond. Wishing you well also. That's awesome. There's a lot of stocks that are doing extremely well. So that's one of the things to pay attention to also. Understanding the macro environment, the fact that we're going to get to a point later this year where we could see a big pullback. People are asking, well, why would we see a pullback? If the Fed is not going to be raising interest rates anymore, why would we see a pullback in the next 12 months? Here's the reason why. The reason we would see a pullback is because the velocity of money still has to come down. A big reason why we had seen the massive crash we saw in 2022 wasn't entirely because of just interest rates going up, but the Fed running off its balance sheet. Less money in the economy means less money in the market. Just natural. When you take money out, there's less money in. That's it. So, a part of the reason we saw this big bump and surge the first half of this year is the Congress just approved a bunch of stuff, and we ended up seeing a lot of money come back into the economy. So when you're watching the velocity of money was coming down, and then we just bumped back up. The Fed still needs to run off that balance sheet. It had been coming down. They put money back in. The stock market went up. Now they have to run it off again, strictly based off of the M2 money supply. You have to follow that. That's very important to follow. That's what happened. So a lot of people last year were completely freaking out about why is Tesla stock pulling down? There's so many good things going for it. Don't care what company you've got. It's not going to withstand the macro environment. Even the Apples and Microsofts of the world still felt the pain last year. Not as bad as Tesla because Tesla was still an early on growth stock, not as supported by institutions like Apple and Microsoft, but it still felt it. So that's the thing to pay attention to. So we're going to see that money supply coming down in the next 12 months. Next piece to pay attention to is the fact that with interest rates being high, even if we hit a pause, they're still high. So trying to sustain businesses, especially businesses that are not profitable, with a sustained high interest rate, think about Tesla themselves. Their demand, automotive market wide, is down. Big ticket items are down for sales because of the fact that the interest rates are so high. If they stay high, they still have to fight that battle, even though they're not going up anymore. So with high interest rates, you still have to fight that battle. So you're either going to be losing some money on the bottom line, you're going to be losing money on the top line, you're going to be losing sales. This is going to happen, at least in the US, but most likely globally, this is going to be happening. So we're going to see a massive earnings pullback for probably maybe Q2, maybe not, but probably Q3 and Q4 for sure. We're going to see a massive pullback. Whether we actually see that with a GDP and actually get a true recession, I'm not sure. Most likely we'll see that, but we're going to see this pullback coming. We've already seen the cost of goods coming down. Cost of goods coming down means that manufacturers, their profits and their revenues are going to be down. Then you're going to end up getting, the retailers. They're going to feel it as well because they're not going to be selling it for as much. People are going to start losing their jobs. We've already seen that happening with a lot of tech companies. Less people who have money to spend are not going to obviously have money to spend. So less money in the market again. We've already seen the signs of it. The seeds have been planted. So we're most likely going to get a lot of that over the next 12 months. That's why we're going to see the market pull back, despite the fact that it seems like right now we're saying, hey, interest rates are going to be paused, should be getting a run. We might get that run. We might still get that. We might still have, 3 to 4 months. Maybe we see a little bit of a pullback right now and then run a little bit further, but it's mostly going to be sideways trading, most likely. Let me see. Hanif, is the Fed going to increase the debt ceiling again? Yeah, they will. Supposedly it's going to be a temporary raise, but it's silly because like the left wants to raise it. I'm just throwing numbers out here. I can't remember the exact numbers. It's like one wants to raise it to like 34 trillion and the other one wants the right wants to raise it to 27 trillion. Like both of them are ridiculously high numbers that need to not be done. They just need to stop spending and doing horrible things with our money. It's not going to happen, but that's the reality of what's going on. And yes, they're going to raise the debt ceiling. They're not going to allow a default. If they allow a default to happen, it's strictly going to be because there's higher powers at work that are forcing that to happen. Otherwise, it's they're not going to let it happen. We've got till June 1st. I have no doubt next week at some point we're going to hear. I don't. Maybe we'll hear it by the end of this week, but if not, by Monday or Tuesday of next week, they're going to come up with some plan, or maybe over the weekend. They like to do things over the weekend because that's not when the market's open, so we can't fluctuate the market by them making a decision because they'll go into this weekend with uncertainty. Everybody's going to sell off going into Friday, but they're going to be secretly buying on Friday because they know that they're going to come up with a resolution over the weekend, and then the stock market's going to gap up on Monday, and they're going to be already in because they knew. And I love the manipulation, and this is why all of our politicians are the best investors in the world because they have all the answers. Let me see. Yeah, Fed needs to go to through austerity. It'll be painful but necessary. They can't just keep printing more money. You're right, and the hard part is it's not even the Fed that's printing. I mean, the Fed obviously is the one printing money, but it's Congress who tells them to. Congress is like, all right, well, we need more money. Go ahead and print it. Okay, so stupid. Um, you think we'll spike when the debt ceiling gets raised? I think if we keep pulling back before then, it might. I don't know if it would be a sell the news situation. I think we have to kind of pay attention to how it's going to go leading up to it. So again, June 1st is going to be that day that they have to make the decision by. I don't know if they're allowed to kick the can down the road anymore. They've already done it once. Um, so I'm not sure. I don't know the government logistics behind all of that stuff, but. Melissa, today was interesting. I was down, then up pretty good, then down. My son bought his first stocks today. Awesome. Did he buy it when it was up or down? Either way, long term, it's not going to matter. But good for him. That's awesome. I love hearing about um, you know kids getting into the stock market. So one thing that I'm working on with my son, I've already got a small portfolio going for him. But thinking about you know, if I knew back when I was 20 what I know now, I would not be working at my job. It's really what it comes down to. And mentally, I heard somebody had mentioned the greatest thing. So many people look back and say, man, I wish I had known this 20 years ago. I'd be so much different now. Well, what I want to do right now is I'm 43. I'm going to look ahead, pretend like I'm 63. At 63, I'm going to be like, man, I wish I knew at 43 this stuff. So if I look back that way and I say, all right, well, if at 63, I wish I knew things at 43, what can I do at 43 that my 63-year-old self would be happy with me about? That's what I'm working on now. Gives me a little different perspective and some more focus. So going back to what I was saying earlier about my expenses, I'm really looking at cutting down my expenses significantly. The first half of this year, I've been a little over expenses. I've been investing in a lot of my social media, a lot of my business, doing a lot of that stuff just because I wanted to build up the platforms to generate some revenue coming out of there. My second YouTube channel, if you guys are not over there, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. Give me some support on that one. It's Oracle Health and Fitness. That is in the description down below. That one's going to be hopefully monetized very soon. That'll be awesome because that's part of the health and wealth. I love doing the health and wealth, helping people live their lives as happy as they could possibly be. That's really what it comes down to, and doing it in a healthy manner is the best way also, in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking at. So I'm going through your comments here. Melissa, he's got 3 computer monitors for gaming. Wow. That's awesome. My buddy's got the same thing. He's got a 3 setup. Like, he's a big gamer. I used to be a gamer and I just had a kid, family, divorce, all sorts of good stuff that took me away from gaming. Yeah, Will. Government has a spending problem. They sure do. And so, speaking of the government spending problem, if I can cut my spending down and really kind of put that money in, going back to the mentality I had, over the whole COVID period where I was living, very tight. I'm, really trying to keep things tight as it was and save every little penny that I can and invest it. So I'm back on my health and fitness. So I want to put the money there, but I really want to invest my money wisely. So I've been investing in the social media. I'm going to pull back on that a little bit, but there you go. There you go, Michael. I'm already 61 and still working on doing better. I love it. That's awesome. It's always improving. If you can always, get better. Nobody's ever going to reach perfection. You can always do better. And I love talking to people like Michael. For me, I look at, you know, these people, they've got wisdom. He has almost 20 years of wisdom that I don't have. So what wisdom can I learn from him? He can say, hey, when I was your age, I wish I did X, Y, and Z. Cool. I want to do those things. I've always been one where, I need to see it to believe it and try it for myself. And I'm going to go out there and try everything I can. But if I can learn some wisdom from somebody else who's already been through it and kind of speed up that learning curve, that's huge. So I always recommend always have conversations with people who have been through a lot of things that, you maybe are going to be going through yourself. Like I've been through a divorce. My buddy's about to get, divorced himself. So he's coming to me and I was like, I've been through this. These are the things that I've learned. This is what I've done with my son along the way to help him become, get through it as best as he can. Just those little pieces of knowledge and wisdom you can share with others is huge. Life experiences are huge. And if you're willing to accept those and listen to the people about it, it's going to make your life a much, much better time. Which you can't look back because you wouldn't be where you are now if experiences. I used to wish I'd tried harder in high school, but then I realized I wouldn't have met my wife. I think that planning is wise. I agree. I fully agree, Moose. For me, I've always been, and I've mentioned it before, I've never been the kind of person who is like, my whole life is already predestined and predetermined where I'm going to go. Maybe we do live in a simulation, who knows? But I've never been that. I've been more of the um, my life is like a choose your own adventure book. So for me, I'm choosing my own adventure. So I'm going to be presented with an opportunity and I make a choice. Do I choose A? Do I choose B? Which door am I going to open? And what I've learned in life is if I say yes to as many good positive opportunities that I can, it'll lead me to another choice with even better, more positive opportunities. Life is always going to be presenting you with challenges, but are the challenges you face better quality challenges than you had previously? 5 years ago, I was facing challenges of I'm buried in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and can barely make ends meet. Now my challenges are, ooh, I need to reel back some of my investing in social media so I can invest more money into the stock market and other investments so I can make more money. It's still a challenge for me, but it's a much better positive challenge than I had before. It's a better quality challenge. And that's one of the things that I try to look at for myself is, can I make these decisions to improve the quality of challenges that I'm facing on a regular basis? I do, however, wish I could type properly on this tablet. Oh man, yeah. And autocorrect is just brutal sometimes too. Like my buddies are trying to do every once in a while they'll be driving, so they're doing voice to text because it's not safe to drive. And man, some of the stuff that comes over, I've had to learn how to translate voice to text. It's hilarious. Unless if I can't make myself a millionaire, maybe he will be. Yeah, learning like you said at 20 is a blessing. I wish I had known that what I know now. That's kind of what I look at. And I'm not going to be one to be like, hey, I want my son to do what I'm doing. I want him to be him and who he is, but I want to share some of my wisdom with him. And what I've been instilling in him is getting yourself at a point with your investments where you don't need money and you don't need a job. That to me was key because that gives you freedom of time. I think a job is very important. I think learning how to have a good work ethic is very important. So I want him to have that job. I want him to learn the value of money. So I want him to learn to go through that. But in the process, I want him to invest. So when he has a family, when he's like 30, 35 years old and he's got a family, he's got to do things with his kids, he's got to, I want to see him, things like that. When he wants to see his family, I want him to be able to have that opportunity to not have to worry about, oh, I have to choose between my job or my family. I want him to be able to choose whatever he wants to do. I want him to be able to choose to do that. And I think with the investments, it's going to help with that. Yeah, Randall, I'm about 20 years behind in investments also. I mean, I've learned a lot of things over that time that currently help with my investments. So I lived through the housing market crash when I was working at Home Depot. I understood how all of that worked, bought a house. Looking back at it, this is why, to me, as a history major, I look back at, all right, what can I learn from the past? I can't go back and change the past, but what can I learn from it that can help me make better decisions today? So, yeah, 20 years in the market not being there definitely hurts. But what can I do today that are going to make the next 20 years more valuable for me? Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Palantir, yeah. So Palantir, right now, I think they're getting a big run. So anybody who's been following Palantir, they actually hit profitability last quarter, 2 years ahead of schedule. They were not scheduled to hit profitability until 2025. They hit that 2 quarters ago. Awesome for them. So they got a bump. They pushed up to over a little over $10, then pulled back to that $5 to $6 range. For some silly reason, I did not add to Palantir at that level. Don't know why, whatever. It happens. So this time around, Q2, they did it again. They beat it. They're foreseeing profitable quarters for the rest of this year. And then they're talking about AI a lot. And there's a lot of this AI enthusiasm coming up. So if you guys remember when we went through COVID, all the EV enthusiasm, that's why we saw all these Neo, Xpeng, Tesla, everybody took off like crazy because of EVs. We're seeing a lot of that happening right now with AI. So we're seeing with Apple, Microsoft, the big tech stocks, Meta, Palantir, Nvidia, a lot of these companies that are involved in AI, kind of getting that similar push right now. So Palantir did it. They're extremely overbought. Again, I sold out 5 of my 25 shares today. I sold it for a loss, but I wanted to free up some cash because I do think that it's going to pull back just because it's so overbought. So I'll probably end up buying back in lower. I will buy back into it, but I think Palantir is going to be good long term. It's one of the stocks that I do like. I just right now I'm trying to be wise with it and thin it out a little bit, anticipating this pullback so I can buy more for less later. Moose Randall, I think mostly 20 years behind investing. I'm 47. Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of us on here are kind of in the near the same boat. I've never been one to look at anybody's age in particular. Um, but yeah, I think we're all around the same boat, all still learning. This is kind of I think why we jive and get along together because we're kind of all in the same boat. Ooh, good night, Moose. Yeah, it's getting late there. I'm gonna be jumping off in a minute too because this live stream started a little bit later, but I missed you guys, so I wanted to hop on here. See if there's anything else I missed in the comments. Yeah. So, is there anything else going on in Tesla news that you guys have seen? I haven't seen a ton of stuff since the shareholder meeting. Oh, you're in Austria, Michael? Oh, that's awesome. God, you guys, I cannot wait to be able to travel the world and meet all of you guys and see the world. So many places I haven't been. Much of Europe I haven't been to. So I definitely need to get over there. So have a good night, Michael, and we'll chat later. Absolutely. Karav, hey, what's going on? Finally done with finals. Time to get caught up with over the summer. Oh, awesome. Wow, you finished early. That's awesome. Yeah, my son's got 2 more weeks. Actually, my son's going to get his license Thursday. He's got his driving test on Thursday. So awesome. I hope you did well on your finals. I have no doubt you did. Did you see the robots during the show? Yeah, it was so funny. Somebody had posted on Twitter the video, and I was like, they're like, oh yeah, it's like a boy band. It looks like the Backstreet Bots or new kids, new bots on the block. Yeah, that's. Thanks, Michael. Yes, I will definitely hit you up. Yeah. Those bots, and that's the big one. And Elon's saying that for very long term shareholders, Optimus is going to be where it's at. So when you look at a company like Tesla, I have no doubt at some point in the future they're going to end up doing dividends. The important thing about dividends is quantity of shares. So most people don't buy into a stock because of the dividend because it doesn't pay enough to really make a huge difference. But if you've bought into the stock regularly and you're dollar cost averaging, you're getting into it, think about like Warren Buffett and Coca-Cola. Obviously been investing forever with them. but he keeps on putting money into it because he has so many shares. The dividends that pay out for him because of the quantity of shares that he owns, that's a massive amount of money. So that's kind of where I'm looking at when it comes to Tesla is you keep dollar cost averaging, and maybe it's not this decade, maybe it's not next decade, but maybe in the 2040s, they start doing a dividend. How many shares are you going to have at that point? You know, for me, I'm hopefully going to have several thousand shares. Let's say I have, my 4,444 shares that my goal is, and they're paying out, 10 cents a share. That's a pretty good chunk on a quarterly dividend basis. That's not bad. So there's obviously, could have a lot more shares than that. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? But that's really what it comes down to is just, time in the market. And then think about the growth that we're going to see on those shares along the time as well. So you're going to get the growth from it and the dividends going into it. That's big time. No, we have not talked about the China numbers. Share your info with us, Karav. What do you got for the China numbers? Because I know this morning, I haven't even seen what the insurance numbers were for this morning. Actually, let me see if I can find it for you guys. Twitter. We'll jump into this. There we go. Weekly insured vehicles, 10.2 thousand, 10,200. The week before that was 99.90. So let me see if I can get that up on here for you. There we go. Yep. So we've got 10,200 coming out for weekly insured vehicles for last week. The week before that was 99.90. Karav, if you know what were the expectations for those numbers, I haven't seen what Troy had put out. I hadn't seen what the expectations were, but obviously coming into, let me see, we're in the end of May. So second half of May and most of June is typically going to be heavily domestic deliveries. So we should be seeing insured numbers going up because of that. So this is good that those numbers are going up. I just don't know what they're supposed to be. Yeah. And of course, expectations are not easy to go by, but Palantir. Yeah, I think Palantir is worth it. I think at this level, I would wait just because it's so overbought. I would wait till it pulls back. Kathy Wood and ARK bought in around the $9.50 to $10 range. So I would think for me, anything under $10 is good. The 870 level is really the big number I'm paying attention to. So anything below 870 for me is definitely a buyback in. It's just that the next 12 months could pull it much lower. Like we might see $5 again for Palantir for all I know, depending on how the rest of this year goes. So far, we are at 67,000 in domestic sales compared to 47,000 the previous quarter during the same time frame. Awesome. That is amazing. And yep, Model Y demand is really good. And if you guys haven't seen as well, lots of articles coming out discussing how the price cuts from Tesla are making a big difference. So they're, this again, going back to what we talked about all last year, Tesla has that pricing power. When Tesla has the pricing power to literally change prices to whatever they need, they've got the ability to manipulate and say, oh, well, we have our ramp coming up even higher for production. So we're not selling as many because we're actually just producing a lot more. Now we can bring down the prices more, but we're going to make up for it by selling more units. That's how they're playing with it. So they're still making money and they're still selling a ton of units. So the percent of increase might not be there. So their percent margin might be coming down, but their dollar amount will be going up. However, they balance it. They do all the math. They know it better than we do. And then, of course, as they've said, they're looking long term. The more vehicles they have on the road, the more opportunity they have to sell FSD to those vehicles. So that's massive, massive potential profits that we could be seeing down the road. So yeah, it's great to see all these vehicles going out there. Great to see the sales going up. And again, even if the margin percentage comes down, the gross profit dollars are going to be, or the bottom line dollars are going to be the most important thing. All right, that's good. Anything else? I'm going to jump off of here in a moment. 7:30. Yeah, it's getting later. But yeah, so I think the rest of this week, um, oh, we're gonna have to see how it plays out with the macro environment, the debt ceiling stuff. But let me see. After a brief revision of about 447,000, but I need to do more in-depth update. What are you thinking for the quarter? Oh man, I'd have to go into the quarter because I'm still at 1.9 million for the year. Awesome, Michael. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll have to go into my numbers. That's actually something that I may end up getting into this weekend is updating my production numbers. I have not updated them in quite a while, so I apologize for that. But I will be getting into update some of my production numbers this weekend, so I'll keep you posted on that one, Karav, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with there. So if I'm bored while I'm in my hotel over this weekend after I'm trying to recover from hiking, I will try to go through and update all the production. All right. Well, folks, that's all I've got for you for tonight. Definitely getting tired already, and I've got a busy week ahead of me. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your patience. Thanks for jumping on with me late here. You guys, awesome, awesome as usual. Again, no live stream Friday because I will be traveling. I'm going to try to get a video out tomorrow. I will not have one out Thursday because of my son having an awards ceremony going on. So he's getting an award, not sure what it is, but he's getting an award. So I want to be there for that. And then I'll try to get you guys a video over the weekend. So otherwise, thank you guys so much.